was unreal. Unreal.
It was the kind of fire some people wanted to remember.
It's a pretty old building right here on fire.
And others would rather forget.
Everything I have is in there.
For hundreds in Belle Plaine Wednesday night, the fire on Main Street was something to see. 6 departments battled the blaze that kept on battling back. A half dozen businesses will not go on as usual Thursday. The fire ravaged every storefront on the main level. And up top, 8 apartments, literally up in smoke.
I come here and all the roads are blocked off and everything, and I don't know what to say.
Sean's luck had him out of town on Wednesday night, but his mom didn't know that. She heard a fire call at his address and headed towards it.
When we saw the smoke, we started to cry. Let's just put it that way, from the road. Yeah, that's bad. Yeah. Right.
Next door to Sean was a young girl with high hopes.
I just moved up there 2 weeks ago.
Cody was home when she smelled the smoke, home with her 1-year-old son.
I started grabbing my son and all of his stuff, and I went in my bedroom, shut the door, and called the fire department.
Cody said she waited at her window when the buckets came up with the firemen. She and her son were rescued from the top floor. It was the last time she'll ever be in her first place.
It was my first home, and now it's gone.
A building this old, more than 100 years, means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. To some, it's a home. To others, it's just a business. But to Belle Plaine, it's something worth standing outside in frigid weather to say goodbye to. Janice Shortle, KARE-11 News, Belle Plaine.
We have officer staff. Here we have officer staff.
That call over the police radio resulted in numerous Minneapolis police officers descending on the area of Franklin and Lyndale about 8:15 this morning. Chaos erupted as police chased down a robbery suspect.
The cops tried to stop him, and he stabbed one of the cops at least.
Actually, 2 officers were stabbed when witnesses say the knife-wielding assailant began slashing at officers after he had been partially subdued.
It was like I was at the movies. I mean, it was really quite frightening.
A motorist saw it all unfold as he sat at a red light. While this man didn't see the knife, he saw police open fire.
Within a second, there were, 5, 7 shots all at once from different places. And then he was motionless, and I realized he'd probably been killed.
2 officers stabbed, suspect shot.
Even after the gunfire ended and the suspect was dead, officers remained with their guns drawn on the outside chance a second suspect was involved, which later police said wasn't the case. Even though the ambulances had arrived in minutes, other officers wasted no time in picking up one of their colleagues who had several stab wounds and hustling him into the back of the ambulance. And fire and rescue crews ran to the scene. Then a second officer, also stabbed but alert and sitting up, was placed into another ambulance. He was said to be inquiring about the condition of the other officer that was wounded. The ambulances received a police escort to the Hennepin County Medical Center. Meantime, the clerk where the robbery occurred broke down in tears as she recalled for police what had just happened. Thanks to a witness outside the Money Center store, police were called in here before the robbery suspect ever left the check cashing facility. He fled out onto Franklin Avenue, and it was in the middle of the street that the altercation with police ensued.
The officers felt, obviously, that their lives were in danger. The officers fired, and unfortunately, there's a suspect dead in the middle of the street.
Not long after the officers had been transported to the Hennepin County Medical Center and the investigation was underway, word arrived back at the scene that the officers, despite sustaining multiple stab wounds, were expected to make a full recovery.
Both are asking about their fellow officer, how they're doing, and they're talking, and the doctors down there say they should be just fine.
But the knife-wielding assailant is dead. Police spent hours collecting evidence, including a knife the assailant was believed armed with. In Minneapolis, Bernie Grace, KARE-11 News.
At the corner of 25th and James,
I'm really upset about it.
Too many people.
It was horrible.
Went through too many emotions. All for a boy they never got the chance to know.
It's hard for me.
Brandy Dabney's family was walking their dog by the bus stop just before 2 this afternoon.
As I was making it across the street, the bus just pulled off, and you heard a big crack.
When the bus pulled away, they saw 6-year-old Kong Mang Vang.
I ran up to the child because I thought he might still be alive.
But all they could do was search for the boy's family.
She went to the door to get the parent, and she comes running. I didn't even want her to see her baby.
Kong died at the scene.
I tried to flag the bus down.
The bus driver kept going at first, police say, because she thought she ran over a backpack, then realized it was a student.
The driver is understandably very upset.
So was Superintendent Tondaway Peebles, who came to the scene.
This is just too many kids this year.
And was overcome with emotion. The boy's mother brought Kong and his 8 siblings to America from Thailand last September.
This is really a bad situation for the family.
Leah Vang says the boy's mother feels responsible.
She usually comes to the bus stop to pick up him, but today she has something to do and she just accidentally forget.
With the scene cleared this afternoon, relatives performed a traditional Thai ceremony to lift the boy's spirit from the spot and make sure his home, from here on out, is well beyond the boundaries of 25th and James.
The Minnesota Department of Transportation advising no travel.
Visibility is measured in miles.
The visibility very poor this morning.
When you're delivering the mail on a day like this,
it is a tough one today.
Persistence is measured in phone poles.
When I left for the route this morning, I could maybe see about 4 telephone poles, maybe 3 to 4 at the most. That's part of living in Minnesota.
Scott Schutte has 101 miles ahead of him and 325 shivering mailboxes.
A lot of customers, if they see out there, they'll say, you know, what the heck are you doing out here? You're crazy.
Yeah, we weren't expecting it. We were surprised to see them.
Rain or sleet or snow. Here, oh, I think it's probably all froze. We make the attempt to go every single day.
21 winters with the Mapleton Post Office, and only 2 snowstorms have kept Scott from his route. This one was close.
20 inches. Believe it or not, 20 inches of snow possible.
Interstate 90 near Albert Lee littered with trucks.
In Freeborn County, 1 quarter-mile stretch of Highway 109. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars and trucks in the ditch.
A gust of wind came up, couldn't even see the semi that was down there, and just faded into the shoulder.
20 miles away, Scott Schutte pushes on.
I think everybody wants to see their mail.
Even if they can't necessarily see their mail boxes.
This is the case where the mail must go through, yep.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
Most of the fishermen sitting on Prior Lake want a walleye, but a few,
utter chaos.
It's buried.
Just want their cars back.
Ice just gave way and many cars just fell in the lake.
In a way, it kind of resembles fishing. You got the hook, the line, and the sinker.
Fishing trucks out of the lake.
Betsy Giving was here last night and is back for more this morning.
Yeah, there's no fish biting, so there's something to do on the lake.
She even brought a lawn chair, which today is more of an ice chair.
Wish it would happen a little more often. It's entertaining.
In all, 6 cars broke through the ice yesterday afternoon.
I didn't see it go in.
Chris Kisner says he parked his pickup on the water's edge, just like everyone else.
When you get people piling next to each other, you know, ice can only hold so much weight.
These pictures show crews reeling in his truck this morning.
I'm glad to have it out, but it was kind of fun in a way.
Fun that comes with a lesson.
I know I'm not going to drive my car out here this winter.
Me and my dad were just talking about it the other day, and we said, no, we ain't going out there yet.
Certainly the guys trying to catch this 2.5-ton fish
Hope they get it out.
will attest to that.
It'd be kind of fun to watch it fall back in again.
With time and effort, the big truck finally does emerge, fighting like a bullhead.
That's the next one we're pulling out.
And with 1 car to go,
be careful.
Kisner reflects on his experience.
You know, I've already been asked, you gonna drive on the ice again? Yes, I am. You know, just like everybody else is gonna do it.
But you can bet every one of these guys will be much more cautious, so their big ones don't get away again.
You don't wish it upon anybody, but it happens.
I don't know what that is.
Mary Schultze is the woman of the house today.
Well, all this has got to go.
Delegating cleanup to all the boys who have come.
Here comes Bill.
To her rescue.
You guys take it easy. It's kind of hot out here.
For the man of her home is serving time for taking his time.
He's in jail because he didn't clean up this mess here.
That's right. Her 88-year-old husband, Bob, a World War II veteran and self-proclaimed do-it-yourselfer, has outdone himself.
My mother and dad would turn over in their grave.
On Tuesday, Bob Schultze was found in contempt of court by a Dakota County judge for refusing since 2003 to clean up his lumber-laden backyard.
Believe me, this is a last resort that the court imposes when all other options have failed.
That last resort is more commonly known as jail. That's where 88-year-old Bob Schultze has been since Tuesday.
I don't know what's what, you know.
And his wife is trying to hold down their fort and her anger.
I don't know what to tell you to do.
At her husband's handiwork.
Yeah, you know how men are.
A few good men, like her godson and a fella she used to den mother in the Cub Scouts 40 years ago, came to help her clean up.
So it's just tools and stuff. So it seems like that's a little bit extreme to throw an 88-year-old man in jail.
The jail sentence is for 30 days or a clean backyard, whichever comes first. As for right now, Bob Schultze's wife will stand by her man while she stands in the biggest mess he has ever made.
This is Champion Sibley County Fair in 1979.
If a man's legacy were measured strictly by the number of trophies he's won,
Here is another one.
Randy Jabs might have forgotten about raising a family.
Randy won first place in the championship.
And called life's accomplishments done.
Champion Sibley County Fair in 1980.
But demolition derby is the kind of hobby a man wants to share with the son.
Every time my wife Dawn was pregnant, everyone was, according to the doctor, is going to be boys.
The doctor said boys.
I'm Angela. I'm Melissa.
I'm Dana.
I'm Amanda.
And this is what Randy got.
No sense. No sense.
Lace and dresses and 2 Miss Jordans. Just don't call them princesses.
Can't wait.
Tonight.
I don't know. We just took his lead. Now it's us.
His wife considers it the turning point in Randy's relationship with his daughters.
He kind of felt a little left out through the years, and I said, well, you know what? You need to get involved. You need to do things with them. Go do some boy things with them.
5 years ago, Angela became the first to strap herself into one of Randy's cars. As her younger sisters got their driver's licenses, Randy made sure they had Chryslers to wreck too.
He loves it. Now we love it.
I think it's cool.
It's not like their mother was going to discourage them.
I used to drive stock car at Raceway in Elko and Arlington Raceway. I was a track champion at Raceway one year.
Something rubbed off.
Can you believe this?
At last year's Scott County Fair, the Jabs sisters took home the trophies for first, second, and third in the Women's Demolition Derby, leaving Amanda empty-handed only because there wasn't a trophy for finishing fourth.
Last year I broke my sister's axle. I'll try to hit Missy first. She irritates me the most. Hopefully I can break another one this year.
One more car.
Tonight, they're awaiting the completion of the first 3 men's heats to get their crack at the Women's Championship at the LeSueur County Fair.
Far bottom corner, stay away from. There's a hole down there.
If Randy seems restless.
Yeah, I get nervous. I always do.
It's not out of concern his offspring are about to turn prissy.
That's my girls.
All right, let's get them lady cars in here. Let's go.
Can you get your glasses in there first, honey?
Similar words of encouragement preceded the girls' pageants.
Good luck. Love you. Have fun.
But there'll be nothing genteel
Fired up. Fired up.
about the next 20 minutes.
Go for it, girlfriend. Woohoo!
We have 4 sisters driving here tonight.
Oh, Dana!
4 sisters,
Come on, Amanda!
18 drivers.
Come on, Missy!
Are we ready, flagman?
Come on, Angela!
Ladies, go down!
All of whom are going to feel this tomorrow.
There's too many kids to watch!
They're fighting each other, too.
No, get out of here! Get out of here!
In the chaos of a derby, drivers sometimes don't even know who they're hitting.
Whoa!
But watch 2 sisters collide, then wave.
Sorry!
And just try telling Randy and Dawn they didn't raise their daughters right. Amanda, whose broken axle landed her in 4th place last year, has bad luck again.
Come on, somebody break her loose.
Her car gets stuck.
Get out of there.
And she's the first sister out.
She's done.
Darn it! Oh, Dana!
Minutes later, Dana is disqualified for an illegal hit on a driver's door. There'll be no repeat of her first place finish last year.
The battle is down to the last car.
The field narrows to 3. Angela, the oldest sister, Melissa, the youngest, and one other driver.
Fire! Fire! Hold up! Fire in the car, too.
When she abandons her burning car, it's a duel.
We have 2 sisters going at it. See which one's going to prevail.
Come on, Ange, Missy! All right, here we go, here we go. Uh-oh. They're gonna boom.
A little love tap there.
The pounding proves too much for Melissa's car. As Melissa works on the starter,
Woohoo! Where's the checkered boy?
Angela works on Melissa.
Line her up for one more big hit. Here she comes. There you go. Winner. Angela Jabs from Jordan.
Yes, this is so fun.
The win is Angela's first in 5 years of trying.
Jabs girls rule! Woohoo!
Add one more trophy to the Jabs family collection. And a moral to the land of 10,000 stories. It doesn't take a boy to make a dad a wreck.
That's as good as it gets, don't it?
Come on, let's go fishing. See? You're gonna fall, Arthur.
In a state where fishing is more religion than sport, it's not that unusual to find a dog who rides along on an angling trip.
You ready? Get on there.
What is a bit strange is to meet one that actually chases fish.
Oh, get it. Oh.
Arthur is a 6-year-old Norfolk Terrier who's been diving after unsuspecting panfish since the first summer Kelly Marshick brought him home.
But it is fun to watch him come back and have him in his mouth as he's swimming up to the mat. And as soon as he gets up on the mat, that fish is out and he's on to the next one. So I think it's catch and release.
Never heard of a fishing dog before. That'd be a cool trick.
Roll out his trusty floating mat, and Arthur will pad back and forth for hours. No potty breaks, no food, just fishing. His human counterparts pale in the dedication department.
Most definitely. He's obsessive compulsive about fish.
My dog doesn't do any tricks. It listens, that's about it.
His dive-to-catch ratio isn't great. Kelly figures her pal averages about 1 fish per summer.
Where are they? Where did the fish go, Arthur?
It's obvious that Arthur's not counting. The joy he gets from something so simple is a day maker.
I enjoy this. Makes my day when I come out on the boat. It's just nice to see a tail wagging and, you know, life is pretty good.
With producer Dana Thied, Scott Goldberg, KARE-11 News.
There's no fish.
If ever there were a day to go for a walk, this was it. Along the path of Lake Harriet, there were hundreds of people indulging in the great Minnesota birthright of laps around the lake. But there was only one person who was doing it because everyone told her she couldn't do it.
I don't take no for an answer.
13 years ago, Susan was in a car accident that left her in a coma for 3 months. A wheelchair for a decade. She was told she would never walk again.
Almost a mile.
After 21 surgeries, she'd had enough and began to try.
Swing that leg, don't swing that leg.
For the last 2 years, she has trained for today, the HCMC Monster Dash 5K.
Let's go, Susan!
At 1 mile, she was already mugging for the camera.
This is pretty easy.
And then Susan took a look across the lake and realized this walk was more like a journey.
I was like, criminy. That's a long way.
Along the long way, her best friend and trainer had her back.
I've learned as much from her as she has from me. It's been a team effort all the way.
He held her steady when she could not. He straightened her line when she'd stray. He even, as true friends do, was there to catch her when she fell.
Wow. So she was in a wheelchair for 8 years?
3 hours after beginning, Susan was closing in on 2 miles.
Yeah. She's going for 5K.
Yeah. And kept moving. It was that last mile when the circumference of the lake seemed like that of an ocean, when Susan's pace began to let up.
All right, let's do it. Let's finish this thing.
But slowing down didn't mean giving up.
It's all adrenaline now, right?
Once she saw that yellow finish line at a distance, every cant she ever heard began to fade into the standing ovation she deserved after 13 years of pain. On this day, no one gave up on Susan Peters.
I was in a coma for a long time. I'm proof that yes, it does get better.
In a sunny-side-up world like the one occupied by John Mockington, it would be hard to draw up a more perfect day.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's Friday, April 1st. It's April Fool's, and here we are gonna knock down a silo.
A pair of 70-foot concrete silos built by his grandpa in the early 1900s have reached the point of no return. Taking them down with a crane would be easy and smart.
First, we're gonna take these out, 17, 18, and 19, right below the door.
But easy and smart would lack the adventure his parents had become accustomed to.
Whenever we'd go on vacation, we'd come back and one of the buildings would be gone. The garage was gone once when we went to Europe.
Nothing feels better than wrecking stuff.
They like to demolition.
I got 9 to 20.
It's not a knee-jerk process. John and family friend Dennis Kors strategically count and knock out tiles while his buddies get impatient.
Come on! Hey, this is fun.
It's very scary. And it's nothing to putz around with.
Make sure you can run, because it's gonna come. It's coming, watch out! Watch out! Get out of the way! Yeah! Yeah! Woo! That's cool! That was cool!
There's one more silo to drop tomorrow.
I can't stop shaking, Dennis.
But you'd be a fool to believe the adventures on Mockington Farm will end there.
Oh yeah, this is nothing. He's always up, something new and fun to do, so.
With producer Dana Theed, Brad Woodard, KARE 11 News.
I was so proud of him.
Life leads us all down many paths.
We were just smiling because we were just having the time of our lives.
Those lucky enough to have crossed paths with Charles Decker II.
You'll be in my heart forever. I love you.
Know what a fine young man he was.
He taught me how to be a good sister and always know what I've got when I've got it.
I lost a good friend, and a son.
Others might think Charles's story ends here, where his motorcycle crashed 2 months ago.
I think of him all the time.
Those people would be wrong.
He'll always be living on, basically, and he will be able to help so many people.
Charles was born 23 years ago in Menominee, Wisconsin.
When he was little, he was very, very good at climbing.
By age 2, he'd learned how to sneak cookies from the top of a refrigerator.
My wife and I knew Charles was a very bright kid. Very, very bright.
And when he was little, he was always just smiling so big.
In recent years, Charles devoted himself to his 5-year-old daughter, Chelsea.
And you can see just by the look on their faces that it was so good just to have time together.
We're really proud of him. He was a good father. He was working hard to go to school, to finish school for his daughter and to make their life better.
September 10th. His brother Anthony makes Charles an irresistible offer.
I said, you're going to get on this bike tonight and we're going to have some fun.
Anthony leads the way. On the back of the motorcycle Charles has borrowed is his girlfriend, 20-year-old Jessica Munns.
She was so excited to go riding.
Along this stretch of Hudson Road in Afton, the thrilling ride in an instant turns horrifying.
All of a sudden I was having to be forced into a really hard lean to try to make the turn. Next thing I know, my bike's being pushed and I didn't know what was going on.
After their tires apparently bump, both motorcycles hit the ditch and crash. In the darkness, dazed, Anthony searches for his brother.
And at the point when I saw his face, I knew, like, everything just didn't seem right.
There's 2 people on the ground. We need an ambulance. Yep, we're gonna get it.
Charles suffers serious head injuries.
Is he breathing? No, he's not.
His girlfriend Jessica can't move her legs. Her back is broken. Neither were wearing helmets. The next day at Regions Hospital in St. Paul, the doctors keep Charles' heart and lungs working, but they find no significant brain activity. A series of tests confirm the worst. Charles is brain dead. On his driver's license, Charles had declared himself an organ donor. At the hospital, his parents meet with representatives of LifeSource, the organization which coordinates organ donations in the upper Midwest.
Hi, Sarah. This is Lori with LifeSource.
Lori Larson is a LifeSource donor coordinator.
Do you think we're ready for them?
After discussing the organ donation process with Lori, Charles's family encourages LifeSource to move forward, knowing it's what he wanted.
It's a reflection of him and his character, and it makes us proud of him.
The next several hours, family and friends spend as much time as possible with Charles.
All right. Ready? Chuck, we're going to lay your hand down.
And they make handprints.
We're going to press.
To remember him by.
Got big hands, doesn't he? Big hands.
Lori, meanwhile, begins the complicated task of matching Charles's organs with potential recipients.
Blood type O.
At the top of the list are those in the most dire medical situation.
5'10" and 87 kilos.
The closer to Regions Hospital, the better.
We want to transplant an organ as quickly as possible, and with heart and lungs, because they can only be out of the body for so long, they need to be transplanted as quickly as possible. CT, it didn't show any contusions.
While simultaneously communicating with dozens of transplant officials.
Liver's placed, heart is placed, chest x-ray looks clear.
Lori also closely monitors Charles's organs.
Looks clean.
By all legal and medical definitions, Charles has been dead now for several hours. If not for the machines, his heart would stop. Tearfully, after being wheeled into his room from down the hall, Charles' girlfriend, Jessica, says goodbye.
It's almost sure she will be paralyzed, waist down.
That must break your heart.
Yes, it does.
Just a few miles away at Abbott Northwestern Hospital, emotions are nearly as intense, but for very different reasons.
We're so thankful to the donor family.
For more than 6 months, 21-year-old Kyle Kraft has been too sick to leave this hospital. If he doesn't get a new heart soon, he will die.
It's going to change my life a lot.
In a matter of hours, Kyle and Charles will cross paths in the most extraordinary way. But first, Charles' family must take an agonizingly painful walk down a lonely corridor towards an operating room.
It's a big loss for my wife and I, but we are strong people. We've always been strong. We'll make it through this.
It is here, a short distance from where Charles's loved ones say goodbye.
We know we will also have something very cherishable because he has donated.
That new lives will begin for Kyle Kraft and several other families. Mark Daly, KARE 11 News.